Hi, this is Wendy with Crooked House Herbals, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about harvesting. It's getting to be that time when some of you who are growing your own herbs and things may be ready to start harvesting, drying, and getting it ready for use. So a couple of rules that we're going to go by here. You never want to pick more than 80%. 90 tops. You always want to leave at least 10% of your plant intact. And this is important for several reasons. Also, I would recommend that you harvest on a full moon because full moons are maximum energizers. So you want to plant on a new moon and harvest on a full moon whenever possible. Again, today I have with me my lovely assistants, Haley and Emmeline, and we're going to harvest some comfrey and some mullein and see what else we can harvest from the gardens. But I wanted you to remember not to harvest, always leave at least 10% of your plant. And when possible, use some kind of a tool. Don't just rip things off your plants. Be gentle and be thankful. Make sure when you are harvesting that, speak blessings to your plants. They're giving you all they've got, literally. So here we go. Okay, we've got Mr. Mullein here. This is a beautiful plant. When you're harvesting, you can harvest both the flowers and the leaves. They're both medicinal and very, very effective. This is a beautiful plant. I'm going to start from the bottom and get the biggest leaves first. With mullein, it's not so important that every leaf is perfect. It doesn't matter if it has some holes in there. It just means they've shared with some of the other critters. But once you dry this and prepare it for tea or for oil or whatever you're going to use it for, you're not going to remember it ever had holes. So don't worry about it. So we're going to cut from the bottom. And remember what I said about leaving 10% at least. Okay, I'm going to leave the rest for now. This should give us a good start. We've got a few critters on there that we're going to have to shake off, and we'll meet you back in the kitchen. Okay, now we're going to harvest some comfrey. We've got some nice big comfrey leaves. These are great. It's not going to take very many to get us a nice batch of comfrey tincture or comfrey oil going. We're cutting from the bottom as much as we can, leaving the younger, smaller leaves to grow some more. It's best to harvest before your plants actually go to seed. So this is the perfect time. This plant is blooming, or it's just starting to bloom, which means it's using some energy for that. I could have gotten to it a little bit sooner, but we've had so much rain. You never want to harvest when it's wet. You want to make sure that your plants are completely dry when you harvest. So that's usually mid-morning, maybe depending on where you live, could be as late as noon. But you want to make sure your leaves are good and dry. You don't want any mold taking place. It's going to take long enough to dry it as it is. Now, the girls are going to take our washed comfrey leaves and they're going to tie them together at the ends tightly, because when they dry, they will shrink up and they'll slip right out of their little nooses if you don't get it nice and tight. And then after they secure it there, they're going to tie it to the twine that I have hanging from the ceiling. Now, not everybody has the benefit of log cabin beam ceiling, so you'll have to come up with your own creative drying racks or places where you can hang. But this works really well for me. Okay, now we're going to use a different technique for drying with the mullein leaves. The mullein is much more absorbent, fluffy plant, and it works really well in a paper bag. So the paper bag actually absorbs the moisture out of the plant. So if you put them in loosely, and the trick with that is that at least once a day, maybe twice, you need to shake your bag so that you move the leaves around and they touch different portions of the bag and do the dance. Shake, shake, shake. And then again, you just set it up in a place where it can get good circulation and check it every day. And pretty soon you'll find that those leaves are dried quickly. It doesn't take long for mullein. And they'll be ready to put in jars or airtight containers and use when you need. So, all right, on the table we have some feverfew that I dried first to a certain point in a paper bag, like the one standing behind Emmeline that is now holding mullein. It was not completely dry to my satisfaction, so I spread it out on trays and I put it in my dehydrator. If you don't have a dehydrator, you can use a very, 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 very low heat oven, 100 degrees or less. So if you have something like that, or even a heat lamp, if you set that up correctly so you don't catch your herbs on fire, you can use a heat lamp. So what the girls are going to do now is they're going to collect up the feverfew and they're going to break it up small enough to put it into that airtight jar. You want your herbs to be nice and crunchy. If they're not crunchy, that means they may still have a lot of moisture in them and you could end up with a moldy situation, which after all of your hard work, you do not want to have happen. Feverfew is very good for headaches, especially migraines. There's some good research showing that feverfew has a good long-standing record for pain relief. Okay, after you've got all the herb in there, you want to make sure you label your jar. Don't think that you'll remember what that is, because you won't. Make sure you write on the tape or your label the item, this one is feverfew, and the date, so that you know just how old your herb is. And there you go. Feverfew is ready for the shelf. Awesome.